Michael, hi, Jim Delapine here. Let me just turn off the audio for the tennis match. And I want to give you some video feedback here for your character here. Okay, so I want to make this a little more interesting for you. At the same time, this will be a learning process to explain a little further how the quick mask works. So what I'm going to do is show you how you can create like a ray or a light beam coming out of these binocular eyes, quote unquote, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to work with quick mask. I basically want to create a selection of this arc here, the eyes, or the glass, I should say, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is going to click on the quick mask icon, which is right here, all right at the bottom left. I'll click on that. So nothing visually changes, with the exception of some of these layers will turn red. But basically, if you go to your paintbrush and paint with black anywhere, you're basically painting with, in this case, red, which what you're essentially doing is creating a selection by painting. All right, so if I exit quick mask by clicking on that icon, you see that I've created a selection, okay? So let me deselect, go back, and click that quick mask icon again. And what I want to do is create, I want to paint this red, the glass part red. But these are arced surfaces, so what you need to do is, and this is the tricky part, okay? What you need to do is go to the ellipse tool, the elliptical marquee tool, okay? And click and drag to create shapes that mimic the arcs of the glass here, okay? So obviously this glass is, it's kind of tilted. So what you need to do is now go to Select, Transform Selection. Then you can rotate this, okay? You can rotate only the selection. If you don't do that, you're going to rotate whatever is within that pixels on that selected layer. Okay, so what you want to do is you can increment it over. You could use your arrow keys in your keyboard to move it over. And what you're doing is lining up the arc of this ellipse with the arc of the shape where the glass is being seen. And then you're going to go to your paintbrush tool. Okay, apply that. Paintbrush tool, make sure black is your foreground color, and make sure that you're at 100% hardness. And let's see, 25 pixels is fine, okay? Something like that, okay? So now if I paint, I'm going to paint along that edge, and that selection will keep it contained, okay? So I'm making sure not to go past it. All right, so just as long as that selection follows the edge of what I want to paint, then you're good. Now, if you want to move the selection only, you have to be in any selection tool. So I would click back on the elliptical marquee tool, and then you can go to the center of the selection and just move it and try to line up that selection with the glass, okay, that you see. Then go back to your paintbrush tool, and now actually I have to move that a little differently, okay, and now just paint the part that lines up. Okay, and now go back to the selection tool and reposition that, and this is going to look okay. Don't forget you can finesse it by just incrementing it down with the arrow keys. And now actually that looks pretty good, so I'll just click that. Okay, and now I'll deselect. Okay, so now I'm painting, actually it's not perfect, but I'm not painting, I'm painting in quick mask, so every time I paint something it's going to be in red, okay? So now I want to exit quick mask. When I exit quick mask, by clicking on that quick mask icon again, I have a selection, and that's what I want. Okay? Now, just to save it, just to make sure, select. I would select Save Selection and just hit OK, or you can rename it. Let's say Lens. Okay? And then I'll click OK. Now I'm going to go to the top layer. All right, I'll select this and make a new layer above that. Okay, click new layer icon right here, and then I'm going to do the following. I'm going to, and this part's a little tricky. This also is a little tricky. Let me hit Control-0 to fit that document in the window, and now I have to carefully go to my lasso tool. Okay, and I'm going to click right at the corner, the left-hand corner of the ellipse, but I want to hold down Shift first and then Alt second. So Shift and Alt is held down. Then you click on the left. Whoops, I made a mistake. So I immediately will undo that. Shift, and then from the, I'll start down here. Okay, it doesn't matter. Actually, let me start here. Continue. Right, the further leftmost of the ellipse selection, I'm going to click and start dragging into the middle of the selection, and then hold down my Alt key. All right, and then continue to click here. So when you hold down Shift and Alt, you're going to keep that held down. The Alt key turns it into the polygon lasso tool, which has a drop bed kind of thing. Right. So now I'm going to click. Let's see, right about here. And I'll click over here outside the, outside the document, and then I'm going to come back up here. My Shift and Alt key is held down at all times. And then I'm going to click here, okay, and then let go of the Shift and Alt key. So I have that as a selection, all right? Then what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to fill that with a color on a new layer. I selected a green, okay? You do whatever you want. And then I'm going to hit Alt Delete, which fills the foreground color. All right. Okay, so we have that so far. Now I'm going to, with it still active, I'm going to click on the layer mask icon. It'll create a layer mask for that right here. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is go to my gradient tool. Make sure it goes from black to white up top. All right. If it doesn't, just click on the foreground on the letter, hit the letter D or X. Okay. And actually, if you click, you have to make sure black is your foreground color. Okay. So black on the layer mask will mask out a certain area. Okay. So we're going to come down to the bottom here and click and drag up and go a little bit past the top, and then let go with my cursor. All right. So we created a gradient layer mask, all right, that makes it look kind of like a beam, all right? So now we can see through it. Now we can make it a little less if we want. I can click from the bottom and drag up again and go a little further, and it'll take away a little bit more. So that's kind of looks like a good beam to me, all right? So now you have to do the same thing for the other side, all right? You could cheat here. I could do this. I could take this layer and hit Control J to duplicate that, and then go to my Move tool and move it over and see if it lines up with the other one. All right. You'd actually have to hit Control T and rotate it a little bit. So I'm going to take the center point, bring it up to the top right, and then click and drag to rotate it a little bit. Okay, maybe something like that. Okay. Hit Enter to apply, and then zoom in to see how it lines up with the ellipse here. So as you can see, it's a little off. Okay, so what are we going to do here? I'm going to hit Control T. I don't know if we can do anything really. I'm going to see if I hold down the Control key and pull the left top anchor point, pull it down a little bit, and keep my Control key held down, pull this down a little bit, maybe make it line up. You can do that. That looks pretty good. And then I'll hit Enter. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop there. I hope that helped. Don't forget to, don't forget to do your sharpening technique. All right. Take care.